Hello, everybody. My name is Zoro Chaos, and today we are doing a rules primer. Now, this will be multiple parts because this is a very long book, especially with the add-ons, and I'm just going to walk you through character creation, and then we'll continue on to the rest in later videos. So, for character creation, you pick your race, which there are a few within this book, and I will do other books down the road. Because there are also halflings, ran, werebubs, and I believe that is the other three races. I could be wrong. Oh wait, gnomes. I forgot gnomes. Yeah, there's four outside of the core book. We will go over them later. So you pick your race, then you pick your life path. For those of you who have already played or have played Cyberpunk 2020 or read, a life path is a number of roles you do to choose to you choose what you get. We will go over life path stuff down the line. And you pick your profession. There are a number of professions within the core book, and also there's Mage and Witcher, and they have their own life paths that they go through. Uh, though for Mage itself, you choose your life, you go get your life path from the Tome of Chaos book, and then from your profession, you're gonna pick your statistics, which is what this game call uses. It is the name that this game call uses. Statistics is basically your stats, your attributes, your laissez-faire. No, not laissez-faire. That's a different word. Anyway, you choose your attributes for your character. Then you pick your. Then you choose your pickup skills, which are skills that you have picked up from your profession over time. You get your coin, which is the amount of money you start out with to buy your stuff, which is in part 7. So we will go down through the races within the core book, and then, uh, well, if you want more of the races, you should get Lords and Lance for Halfling and Book of Tales for the other three. Like I've said, those other three are Vran, which are this game world's version of lizard folk, Werebubs, which are essentially humanoid. Not humanoid. They're more animal like. They're essentially giant beavers or other kind of furry creatures. I don't know how else to really explain it. You'll find out yourself. And then there's gnomes, which we all know. We all know gnomes, though they're not like gnomes from D&D. They're a little slightly taller. They're around the same size as dwarves within the setting, so it's not all that hard to imagine. Right. Social standing. Humans are the world of The Witcher. There are 4 playable races that each have their own abilities and drawbacks. Despite the fact that you're born as humans, Witchers are considered a race of their own due to the mutations in their bodies and their unique abilities. Others of your race. It's important to note that you may run into others of your race while in hostile territory. Other members of your race will always treat you as equal unless they have some personal problem with you or members of their own race. Friendship. Your social standing is designed to indicate how strangers feel about you based on your race. Obviously, if you're an elf who has a longtime friend who happens to be a human, your friend won't hate you. The same goes for lovers and sometimes in-laws. So social standing. Humans are the dominant species on the continent after a series of wars in which the elves and dwarves sided against the humans of the north. The non-human population, elder folk if you're polite, of the northern kingdoms have become a downtrodden group of second-class citizens. Today, race means quite a bit in day-to-day life. Each race has its own social standing, which indicates how people deal with your character and explains how their reaction reflects in statistics. Equal. Characters with a social standing of equal are seen as peers. They take no penalties to social interactions, but gain no bonuses either. People will generally judge them on their appearance and actions rather than their race. So, Witcher has a social standing system, and that determines certain things. Do you get a bonus or a malus to certain stats? And that's important because this game is heavily racist if you're not a human, for the most part. Tolerated. Characters who are tolerated are present in society but not really respected or considered equal. They take a -1 to seduction, charisma, persuasion, and leadership with people. Feared. Characters who are feared are considered frightening to the average person. You may gain the feared social standing through mutation into a witcher or horrible scarring. You can gain the standing in specific places based on your actions, but that is decided by the game master. A character who is feared gains +1 to intimidation, but a -1 to charisma. And that stacks with tolerated, and that stacks with hated. So you can get a neg. So we'll find out what hated also gives you. Now, characters who are hated are actively despised by most people. They aren't necessarily outcast, but are often the targets of racial aggression and hate crimes. They take a -2 to seduction, charisma, persuasion, and leadership with people. Right, so if you're hated and feared, you get a -3 to charisma, but a +1 to intimidation. So in the north, humans are equal, elves are hated, dwarves are tolerated, witchers are hated and feared, and mages are hated and feared. Nilfgaard, humans are equal, elves are equal, dwarves are equal, witchers are hated and feared, and mages are tolerated. In Skellige, humans are equal, elves are equal, dwarves are equal, witchers are tolerated, and mages are tolerated. In Dol Blathana, which for people who don't know is the elven capital city that's still around, humans are hated, elves are equal, dwarves are equal, witchers are tolerated, and mages are equal. In Mahakam, which is the home of dwarves, humans are tolerated, elves are equal, dwarves, of course, are equal, witchers are tolerated, and mages are tolerated. Now, what? Mages are a profession and not a race. You can guess why within the Witcher setting, why mages are hated, tolerated in most societies. Female Witchers. Historically, all known witchers have been male due to the nature of the trial of the grasses. However, we leave it to the GM to decide if there are female witchers in their game. So, if you're GM and you want to have witchers, or you have a bunch of players who want to be a witcher and they want to play a female witcher, it is up to you to allow it. However, I believe lore could go to hell, so you can just say yes. Say yes to female witchers. Dulled emotions. Due to dulled emotions, a witcher cannot raise their EMP empathy stat above 6. Now, I am going to yap a lot with this lore section, so give me a moment. Witches have been a touchy issue since they were made centuries ago. But let me tell you, friend, even when they were sought after, nobody really liked them. They're raised from human children taken to one of the 5 schools of the Witcher. At these Witcher keeps, the children go through some kind of grueling training process that makes them into living weapons. Fast as hell, trying to fight blind and hunt just about every monster any poor son of a whore likely to find. In a few years of this, they go through a bunch of mutations. One you hear about most, the trial of the grasses. The one Witcher I traveled with said only 1 in 4 kids survives this whole mess. The ones that survive are changed. They've got bright cat's eyes and just about no feeling left in them. Heard the emotion part evens out after a while. Hell, the Witcher I traveled with even made a few jokes on the road. From that moment on, they're killers. Reborn from one purpose, killing monsters. And hell, seeing a Witcher in action will see the payoff of all of that hardship. Problem is, they're mutants. There's one thing people hate is a mutant. Witches have barely any charisma left in them, so most people think they're cold, heartless murderers who'll steal your gold, rape your daughter, and put a sword in your gut. Rodolphe Casimir. They get a few perks. Enhanced senses. Through their heightened senses, witches take no penalties from areas of dim light and gain an inherent +1 to their awareness skill, as well as the ability to track things by scent alone. Dulled emotions. Thanks to trauma and mutation, a witch's emotions are dulled. Witches do not have to make courage checks against intimidation, but they have a -4 to their empathy stat. This cannot bring empathy below 1. That's important. Resilient mutation. After all of the mutations required to become a witcher, they are immune to diseases and are able to use mutagens. That is something I'm going to cover in a future video. All about witchers. Hope you enjoy that. Lightning reflexes. After intensive training and mutation, witchers are much faster and more agile than humans. They gain a permanent +1 to their reflex and dexterity and can raise both stats above 10. So, if you make your character, just to get some hullabaloo out of the way, unlike D&D, and just like, well, not really like Cyberpunk Red, this game has people's stats at a maximum of 10 to a minimum of 2. Though, so that means, though it is also a D10 system with exploding dice, so that means that you could have a 10, let's say a Witcher has 11 in reflexes. And they use a skill that is tied to reflexes. As a natural 21, and they roll a d10, they roll that d10, and they roll a natural 10, They have a 31. They roll that d10 again until they don't get any more 10s. Blah blah blah. That usually means they have a really good way to get critical hits, which I will cover in another video. Elves, the ANC, the ANC. I believe that's how you say that. I can't really tell, and I could be 100% wrong, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Elves, or the ANC, since ours aren't the only elves out there, are a sad tale indeed. Hey, they came to the world not long before humans, in great white ships from somewhere. Wouldn't call them the kindest of the races, but they got along well enough with the rest of us. They're not too unlike humans, tall, thin, prone to looking down on others. Only difference is their pointed ears, their seemingly eternal lives, their bond with the land. Hey, the elves are at one with nature or something. Lived off the land for generations, foraging for food and building great palaces. Don't even have sharp teeth after all those years of eating berries and plants. Don't get them crossed though, and elves hell on the battlefield too. Might not wear much armor, but they're hard as frogs in winter to find in the wilderness, and probably the best archers you'll ever see. Perks. Artistic. Elves have a natural eye for beauty and a talent for artistic endeavors. Elves gain an inherent +1 to their fine art skill. Marksmanship. Years of training and practice makes elves some of the best archers in the world. Elves gain an inherent +2 to their archery skill and can draw and string a bow without taking an action. So that means literally when combat starts, an elf can literally ready their bow at the start of combat, which makes them really good for any kind of archery build. Natural attunement. Elves have a deep magical bond with nature itself. Elves do not disturb animals, meaning that any beast they encounter is considered friendly and will not attack unless provoked. Elves automatically find any plant substance rated as commonly available or lower they are seeking, as long as the substance would occur naturally in surrounding terrain. I'm going to read the bonus skills part. When you create your character, you cannot have a skill value higher than 6. As you level up your character, skill values come out at 10 points. Like I said previously, the perks that you gain from your race can raise your skill value above these ceilings. For instance, if you decide to play an elf and put 6 points into archery right away, your marksmanship perk can raise your initial archery skill value to 8. If you level up that same character over the course of a game, you can raise your archery skill value to a total of 10, plus the bonus marksman value, putting you at a 12. That means you could be really good at archery, as long as the stat tied to it is also high. There's that too. Dwarves. Hey, my friend, rivers dry up, mountains crumble, but dwarves are a constant. We may be short compared to the elves and humans, but we're sturdier than they'll ever be. The definition of barrel chested. We dwarves have been around for ages, living in the mountains and plying our trade forging. We're friendly enough when you get to know us and easy to get along with as long as you don't piss on our faces. The humans may not love us dwarves, but they need us for our skill and our steel. Besides, like the damn elves, we don't hold an inborn grudge against the humans. We keep to our business and them to theirs. Share a drink here and there. Sadly, madness is spreading quick through the Norse and dwarves are targets now more than ever. Lucky the humans have a hard time picking out our women. Never find a prettier lass than a dwarven girl. You see, the fuller the build, the fuller the, well, you get my point. Dwarven women. It is difficult to convince dwarfs that males of other races do not fully appreciate the kitten soft beards of their women. Brandon Oxenford. Perks. Tough. Spending most of their time in the mountains and mines, dwarves have naturally tough skin. As such, a dwarf skin has a natural stopping power of 2. We'll get into SP down the road. This SP is applied on top of any armor the dwarf is already wearing and cannot be lowered via weapon attacks or ablation damage. Again, all those mechanics will be explained down the road. Due to their compact frame and propensity for tough, physically demanding professions, dwarves gain a +1 to their physique skill and raise their encumbrance by 25. Again, anything you don't know about now will be covered in a future video. Crafter's Eye. When their eye for fine detail and appraisal, it is hard to bluff a dwarf. Dwarves have an inherent +1 to their business skill. And we continue to humans. Now I'm going to read the Northerners blurb and then the humans blurb here. Northerners. Tricky topic. The North folk are usually fine enough. Grew up in Maribor. Plenty of humans around there. Never had too much trouble. Either way, North's different from the Black Ones or the Oferi or the Zeracanians. Friendly enough once you get to know them, but until then it can be rough sledding. Rare a Northern will hide their intentions though. Hey, if some big Kadwani bastard wants to cage your face in, you'll know it, trust me. Guess I call him honest. Traveled south a bit, and I never felt as honest. Too much plotting and too many fake smiles. And we'll get into the human lore here. If I were a worse burden, I'd vent my spleen and tell you all the terrible things humans have done to my people, the other elder races. But I'm better than that. Where's the humans during the Northern Wars? Was the Temerian army's humans? Humans can be fine folk. They're varied in nature and usually a pretty resilient race. They tend to get swept up in causes and fears pretty easily, though. They're a dominant species on the continent right now, and they know it. It's easy to speak ill of them. They just about destroyed the elder races, wiped out their van, killed all but a few thousand of the werebubs, built their cities on top of elder folk cities. Depending on where you are, and they're still killing elder folk by the score every day. They're not all bad. Most mages are human, and they may destabilize countries and plunge the world into chaos. But they also made the world better with magic and science. Humans are a clever bunch, and in a pinch, a human you know well will probably have your back. Right off, Casimir. Perks, trustworthy. In a world where non-humans can't be trusted, humans look more trustworthy. Humans have an inherent +1 to their charisma, seduction, and persuasion checks against other humans. Now, in The Witcher, where humans are the majority of NPCs most players will ever encounter, and you play as a human, this is a good perk. If you're not dealing with humans, this is completely wasted and it's very situational and will never come up. So if you're playing the Witcher tabletop RPG, I recommend you make sure you're talking to humans if you want to use this perk. Otherwise, it's completely useless. Ingenuity. Humans are clever and often have brilliant solutions to difficult problems. Humans gain an inherent +1 to deduction. That's a good perk. It's always on. Unlike trustworthy, which is sometimes never on. and only if you're playing a human-centric cities. Important caveats to always remember within this game. Blindly stubborn. Part of the human race's greatest strength is its willingness to charge forward endlessly, even in truly life-threatening situations. A human can summon up their courage and re-roll a failed resist coercion or courage roll 3 times per game session. They take the higher of the 2 rolls. They still fail. They cannot reuse the ability to roll again. So it essentially gives you advantage 3 times if you don't want to be coerced or flee from a combat or something else. That is really good. Especially if you're a human who doesn't want to fight a monster or a monster scares you. Because every time you see a monster and you're not a Witcher, you're rolling that courage check or you're running away versus their intimidation. Good luck. So it's their intimidation DC, which is their skill base, and not a contested roll, which makes it a little better. Alright. Now, that is going to be it for the core book races. We're going to cover life paths down the road. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to cover halflings as well as the rest of the races in another video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Ta-ta and cheers.